Hello guys, what's up? Welcome to App Monsters. It's my very first video on this YouTube channel, and today what we're gonna discuss is lazy loading in the Flutter. Like when you have to deal with a large amount of data which has to be fetched from the server, then you cannot do that on a single tap. So for that purpose, what you need to show only the acquired data to the user. For example, if we look over here on this project, I have simply created a list of 100 items, nothing else. So this would load all of the 100 items because they have been preloaded. So what we need is when a user scrolls down, it's mean he needs more data and we simply fetch more data from the server. So it can cost a lot, it can save a lot of things at the user end, like it can save the data, it can save the storage of the user, especially when you are dealing with the high quality images which have to be fetched from the server. So for that purpose, what we are gonna do, we are gonna simply load only those items which are initially needed. So here you see that we have about 14 list items. So we would create only the 14 list items. So here I would create an empty list, and I would simply create a constructor. In the constructor, I would simply create a list of just 14 items which has to be displayed to the user. So for example, if I do hot restart, you see that you have simply the 14 items right over here. So when I scroll down, what I would need to load more data. It means user require more data is what he needs isn't searched as yet. So for that purpose, we are gonna create a scroll controller. So a scroll controller object. So that is a scroll controller right over here. So right over here, what I'm gonna do, we are gonna we are gonna bind an event listener to the scroll controller. So that is very important. We need to bind an event listener, yes. So for that, I would bind uh, a listener, and this listener would simply listen to the change in the scroll. So for this, I need to check a condition that if the scroll controller dot position dot pixels. So if we go to its documentation, it simply says that it simply returns the number of pixels which have been changed when the user scroll down. So when it simply scroll down, it's mean there is a change in the pixels, and we need to compare this value with the scroll controller dot position dot maximum scroll extent. So the maximum scroll extent is basically the maximum in range number of pixels. So when these both values would be true, it's mean user is scrolling down and he needs more data. So what we would do, we would simply create a function of the load more items, and we would call it when user requires more data. So here we need to create another function that's load more items. So right over here, what we are gonna do, we are gonna add 14 more items to the list because the user needed more. So we need to initialize this load more items with the previously ended index. So what for that purpose, I'm gonna create a variable of the current max, and initially it is 14 because we have created about 14 items right over here. So I would assign it with the current max, and that should be less than the current max plus the number of items you need to add more. So of course there would be 14 again, which would be visible to the user. If user would require more, he would scroll down and we would load more 14 items. So this is I plus plus uh, this is it, and yes. So we need to of course declare it. So right over here we would uh, add more items to the list. So list items dot add, and I would simply say that this is item number whatsoever is the index. So right over here we need to change the current max of quotes, because for the next time we need a new current max which was updated previously. So I would simply add current max to the 14 items which have been changed. So right over here, of course, we need to set the state so we can see the change, see the scroll change right over here on the user screen. So it wouldn't work as yet because we haven't added the controller to this list view builder. So right over here, we need to add the controller, and that is the scroll controller, right? So for example, if we want to see the change, I would simply print the list items, and this is it. So for example, if we had reset it, here you see initially 14 items. So if we go to the debug console, when I scroll down here, you see that it has added more 14 items. So for example, if we go more down up to 28, yes, it has added again. So it's mean user required more data. And here you see that it would go to the infinite because we haven't set any condition like how much it should scroll down. So for example, if you have 100 documents and you need the scroll controller to stay between those documents, let's say the number of documents which were over there, for example on the file store or on the Firebase. So that is the number of docs. Let's say the retrieved documents were 50 and you need the scroll controller to create list items up to 50. Then you need to check that if the list items short length is less than the number of docs, then you should trigger it. Otherwise you should not trigger this. So let's see that how much it was helpful. So let's say so you see over here it initially created 14, and upon the scroll down we are going down and down, and it has created about 55 items, but the number of documents were only 50. So it means we need to deal this issue in in a very beautiful way. And for that purpose, what we are gonna do, we are gonna add more conditions like right over here when we are setting the state. So first of all, what I would do, I would add a if condition that if the of course right over here the current max exceeded the number of documents, so it created the more list items than the required one. So I would check that if the current max exceeds the total number of documents, then what we would do, we would simply check out that how much documents are exceeded. So I would simply call them the length of the documents which are exceeded, and I would calculate the exceeded documents. So that is current max minus the number of docs. So what would it retrieve, what would it return? It would return me the number of documents which are exceeded and which have created the extra list items. So I would simply uh, assign a new current max to the current max, and that would be minus the number of documents that have exceeded. So this is it. And after that, I would of course update the list items as well. So what I need, I would simply update the length of list items, and that is equal to the current max, that is the new current max. Fine. So let us run this and see how does it work. So I have hot reset this, and here you see initially 14 items, and this is So here you see the total of the 50 items right over here. So it did not exceed it. So finally we are ready to go. We have done everything which we required, like it would not exceed the number of documents. So this is only for the list view. uh, After this I would be uploading another tutorial that would be guiding you like how you can create scroll controller for the grid view. That is pretty very easy as well, but that is some sort of tricky, like when you are dealing with the with loading more items, and when you are dealing like to show the progress indicators. So let's make it pretty more cool, and for that purpose what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a circular progress indicator. Like it should show the user that something is gonna happen right below. And for that what I would do is to simply add, yeah, right over here I would simply check for the condition that if index is equal to list items dot length. Of course it will not equal to it because index always start from the zero, and you know that the length is one more to it. So it's mean we have to decrease one from the uh, list length, so that can equate to the index. So if this is equal, it's mean user is loading more data and we need to show some sort of progress. So I would simply return, let's say what we return, I would simply return let's say in the center, and that is the child of it is a circular progress indicator. Fine. So it would show me the circular indicator. So let's see how well it went. So this is it. So it did not show me. Of course, it is shown, but maybe we need to change the color of the circle progress indicator. So that is the we need to add another property to this uh, circular progress indicator, and that is its background color, and that is colors dot what. This is it. So let's see. Yes, here you see that we have a progress indicator. Like when we scroll down, it has done so far. It's mean that was saying that there is something like you can manage it in a pretty good way when you are dealing with the real-time scenarios. Yes, at the end you can have a progress indicator, and that would not be showing the last item. So here we should have 50 items, but it is not showing the 50th item. So what we gonna need over here, we need to check for another condition, and that would be using the AND operator. And we are gonna say that if you should show this progress indicator if list items dot length is not equal to the total number of docs. It's mean when it is equal to the total number of docs, it's mean we are over and we don't need to show more progress because we have fetched all of the items. So let's see what it does. It would simply show the progress indicator. Yes, here you see that the last of the progress indicator has been removed. So this was all. Please comment and subscribe my channel. Comment below if you like the video, and I would be updating you with the next video, and that is about the grid view scroll controllers. Like when we have to display 2 items in a grid or 3 items per row, then what are the different scenarios and how you can deal with them. So until then, thank you for watching, and just take care of yourself. Goodbye.